Good evening. Tonight I'm here to talk to you about the process of cloning in the equine industry. 13 years ago, the first horse, along with 3 mules, was successfully reproduced by the process of cloning. This experiment's success opened the door for veterinarians all across the United States to take a further look at the process of cloning. However, the equine industry really doesn't have the greatest knowledge about cloning. This is because people just really haven't been made aware of the new advancements. I mean, we can take a horse's DNA, say a horse that's already passed or a horse that biologically can't reproduce, we can take its DNA and use it to reproduce offspring. There isn't any other process that allows us to reproduce offspring from a dead horse. I mean, that's a great advancement. But before we get too much into the horses and their offspring, let's first talk about the process of cloning. Dr. Katrine Henrich talks about how close the process of cloning is with freezing semen. To further explain the comparison between those two, let me explain the process of freezing semen. So, you would take the semen from a stud horse, put it in a vial, and freeze it. You will freeze the semen because sperm can't live in, say, room temperature, so you have to freeze it to keep the sperm alive so that the semen will be valid. Cloning takes a similar approach. Cloning, however, uses the DNA of a horse where freezing sperm uses the semen. But you will take the DNA of the horse you're trying to clone and put it in a gene bank where it'll live. You'll freeze it, similar to freezing semen. Then, once you're ready to clone, you will put it in the egg of a mare to form your embryo, and then put it into your receiving mare to form your clone offspring. I have a diagram to further explain this process. So, you will have your main horse that you're cloning, and you'll take its DNA, which your DNA is in your nucleus, along with the egg of another mare to form an embryo. You will then take that embryo and put it into your receiving mare to form a clone. So, we'll be able to take this horse and have a clone of him, a little foal. So, these two horses right here, same DNA. We're not saying that a clone is going to look exactly like the clone horse, but the same DNA. So, where do you go to even get a clone? Well, there's already a company that's taken over the process of cloning. Vigan is the #1 company when it comes to cloning. It's already gone to produce several great clones. For an example, they've already cloned the great horse Scamper. Scamper was a burro horse who competed at the elite levels of rodeo. He was owned by Charmaine James, won world titles. He went to the Super Bowl of rodeo called the National Finals Rodeo. The only problem with Scamper was he was a gelding. A gelding is a horse that has been castrated, so they can't produce. However, Charmaine took the DNA of Scamper, put it in a gene bank, and they made a clone. His name is called Clayton. Now, Clayton doesn't look exactly like Scamper, but he has the exact same DNA as Scamper. So, Clayton, who resides on the James's Ranch in Burning, Texas, has already started reproducing foals. But the thing is, it's the same DNA of Scampers that's using to produce these foals. So, the Scamper's DNA is going to be carried on for generations to come, where before he wasn't able to reproduce and his bloodlines were going to die with him. Cloning is such a big deal. I mean, it affects the equine industry completely because we can now take past champions and use them to produce future champions. So, cloning just has a bright future ahead of it. I mean, vets are already looking at ways to perfect the art of cloning. The veterinary center at Texas A&M is already working to further better the process of cloning. They're already on a mission to make cloning as common of a breeding method as freezing semen. So cloning is going to be around for decades, and we're going to use it to take horses from decades past and to produce horses for decades to come. So let's take a look at what we've learned today. First of all, cloning is a process that will be used to produce horses that couldn't reproduce before and allow them to reproduce offspring. This offspring might not look exactly like the clone, but will have the same DNA as the horse they're cloned after. I believe that once the equine industry is educated on the topic of cloning, the possibilities of cloning are going to be endless, because we can keep cloning horses and bettering the equine industry. The equine industry was built on a handful of great horses. This handful of great horses now can be carried on to where we were branching off horses as the years went on. Now we can get back to the original branches of those great horses. This is going to bring the equine industry better athletes throughout the years. It is just a great process that's going to better the equine industry. Thank you. I hope you learned the process of cloning and how it's going to better the equine industry. Thank you for your time.